Hello. My guest today is a guy I've known not well for over 20 years. He's nodding that I didn't know him well, and I don't know him. A great comic, sort of New York staple, and a satellite radio staple. Just told me 20 years on satellite. Opie and Anthony, and his own solo show now. He had an HBO series called Down and Dirty with Jim Norton. He has a bunch of HBO specials. You have a YouTube channel now with your wife.
Yeah.
Who is trans, I believe, and we'll get into that as we progress. Jim Norton, everybody. Jim Norton.
It is true. We don't know each other well. Like, I know you and I like you for a long time,
yeah.
but that's how it is in the business. Some guys you just see, like, I'm comfortable when I see you to say hi and sit down.
Yeah.
But then,
you'll eat in front of me. I'll eat in front of you. There's no, like, what I know about you, I'm always interested in, though, which I'm happy to have because I'm always, here's what my observation about you just from far away. So people like me started doing, Birbiglia started doing the sort of emo shows. I started doing emo shows, and then Hassan and Hannah Gadsby and a few other people that I'm forgetting. Jackie Novak's got one now, Alex Edelman, etc. But you were talking about weird shit early. Like you in is it Candy Rain, the name of the HBO special?
Monster Rain.
Monster Rain. I was going to look it up and forgot. You talk about being molested.
You know, my therapist said I was molested. I was at a point, I was blowing all my friends as a kid, and my therapist says, you were molested. And I show all the signs because one of the kids was a bully. Like, I was terrified of him, and I'd blow him in his little Budweiser bathing trunks. These weird bathing trunks, and they smelled like mothballs.
To completion, you would blow him?
No, we were too young.
Okay.
My dick didn't even get hard at that age.
Okay.
This was like second grade, third grade, first grade.
Got it.
But I never felt like I was molested. I mean, maybe that was.
What is that? What do you think was happening? Because there is that thing. I feel like girls experiment more sexually around that age, where you'll hear girls like first awareness of sexuality be like, me and my friend started rubbing ourselves against pillows.
Yeah.
What was the guy? Because I didn't have any of the guy version.
No, a lot of guys do and a lot of guys don't. But it was really weird. It was like something in the water in Edison, New Jersey. I had 10 sexual partners before fourth grade. And I know that because I remember when I moved, which was Halloween of fourth grade was my first day of school in North Brunswick. So any memories I have from Edison are before that time.
And you're picking out guys you're going to blow?
You know, it just kind of happened. Like we trade sucks. Like you give me 10. It's transactional my whole life. No surprise. I like sex work because you know, you give me 10 sucks, I'll give you 10 sucks. And then there was there was two bullies who I would do it with. There was girls too, but the girls were a little scarier. Like the vagina scared me because I didn't know what it was. But I got my ass fetish from a girl who was a year older than me. I think the piss stuff that I've done, I got a fetish from. I would have this brother and sister who were my age or a year older. In second grade, they would both piss their pants a lot, and I would hide behind the bushes, and I would always get one of them to sit on my face so I could breathe it in.
That's so funny. I mean, it's so extreme. And what's always been fascinating about you is that and also you're doing it on Opie and Anthony, and now your show, which in my head is more right wing.
You know, we're more conservative when it comes to stuff like crime and punishment, language, policing. But as far as being sexuality and things like that, I mean, our show was O&A was a barbaric, hilarious show that made fun of everything. But they never cared about people being gay or bisexual, like in a legal sense. Like they were never against gay people.
But even like culturally, it's just like you would say, I blow guys, and it wasn't. It was more just like you're weird, or you're like, it wasn't even it was maybe you're gay, but it was always.
Yes, I'm not gay, but I'm definitely not straight. I mean, you can't be straight and be in a relationship with a woman who has a dick. There's just no way. And despite what gender studies professors will try to bark at you, it's just not the truth as far as I see it. But I was never a good ally for like LGBT, never saw me as an ally because of the people that I'm with and the jokes I make and the things I've said. So they just kind of like, they didn't fuck with me.
Right,
but
it is an interesting. Well, all right. Here's a question: whatever your vague sexuality is, do you feel like most people who's either they're non-binary or they're trans or they're all these new sort of, they're not new categories. They're not new. They're named. The naming them is new. And categorizing them is new. But do you think that your experience is that off from most people within that realm?
I don't know. I mean, to be really honest, because I don't understand a lot of it.
I would assume it's very contradictory and confusing within yourself.
Well, I mean, for me, I mean, there's no way to consider myself straight. I never have. Like, you know, so many guys will say, like, they misread it and they'll go, you're with, my wife's name is Nikki, you're with her and you think that, they're like, he says he's not gay, he's delusional, but I'm not. If I was gay, I'd tell you I'm gay. I don't give a fuck. I'm 55 years old. I'm not nervous to say it. But I like vaginas too. So it has to be bisexual. It has to be, I mean, I don't like all the new terms. I'm sure some of them are legit. I just am old and don't understand them. But I also think a lot of them are, hey, this sounds unique. And we all have chronic uniqueness. I had it growing up. And if I was 15, I'm sure I would have had a bunch of different labels for myself. So for me, it's hard to determine what's legit, what is attention seeking, what is a phase, what makes somebody really transgender. Like I don't know the answer to it.
Well, yeah, and we don't. I think we could talk about it endlessly and still not know.
Yeah.
My question for you would be, in terms of your sexual taste, is it like ordering off a menu, or not ordering off a menu? What kind of food do I want tonight? Like Thai or Japanese or German or like, or going on Pornhub and being like, I like ladies.
Sure.
So then within ladies, I go, I don't know. Maybe let's see if that's anything.
It's more like blindly reaching my hand into a bucket, and whenever I pull out, I'm like, I'll eat that.
But is it that random? Does it feel that random?
No, like whatever it is that will turn me on, it changes. It's like, you know, for a long time it was feet, and then I'm like, no, I don't care about feet. Or just being smothered by a girl. It really depends on the moment and the day what I'm going to look for. I mean, there's certain things that like would never turn me on, you know, and the typical stuff that doesn't turn most sane people on.
Piss. Sorry.
Well, you know, I mean,
let's not be crazy.
Yeah, let's not be crazy. I mean, it's a fetish. It's a beverage. It's anything you want it to be.
Okay, so I mean, I'm sort of jumping around here because there's a bunch of the first block is sex addiction, so we'll just throw that up and we'll place all that under here. Within a marriage, you'll go through a cycle of what turns you on, however long, a week, a month, a year, whatever. Can Nikki provide all this, or is the understanding like sometimes I like what you offer, and other times I need to leave, or she tries to accommodate what you're into? She's
pretty open, but she's also pretty traditional. Like she's very, very she's a very literal person. She's not into role play or dirty talk. She's just let's get to it. She's tactile.
Dirty talk is so embarrassing.
I like it because I'm pretty good at it, and I'm a great dirty texter. But I can see it being embarrassing if someone's not comfortable.
It's just not. I just find the writing bad.
Yeah, some of it can.
It's all like guys all say the same thing and women all say the same thing.
Yeah, like, hey, you're so wet. I mean, that's shit.
Or like, are you my just all this like, it's just like, it's hacky.
If you mean it. Like if you, to me, a person meaning it is very important.
Army Hammer.
Army Hammer, you know what? That's a typical, I look at that as such a not a big deal. Like as long as he didn't, I don't know if he forced that woman or not.
It's like that documentary about the cop who wanted to eat
Gilbert,
people.
Whatever his name was. Yeah, I knew one of the girls in that porn.
Of course you did. I knew that.
Who I love. Her name is Pepper Kester. She's one of the sexiest women in history. She would do a lot of that like cannibal porn or whatever.
Yeah.
And he
it's like, can you say I want to eat you? Sure. Like what's wrong? I even with Army Hammer, obviously once you're into non-consensual physical harm, then I go, yeah, that you can't do that. But texting,
if it's, I don't know if it's non-consensual or if she's just a jilted ex who hates him. I don't know.
Right,
I don't know.
I know.
But the texting was nothing. It was like it's pure dom sub relationship.
Yeah.
For people to pretend that they don't understand that, how could anyone like that? How could any guy want his dick stepped on? But there is an entire cottage industry of women who are paying their rent because they kick guys in the balls.
Have you ever, there's a book called Everybody Lies, and they looked up the stats on what women search for and what men search for in terms of rough sex on Pornhub. And rough sex, the searches from women were 24% and the searches for men were 6%. So in that case, women are significantly more into it than men are. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's like, and then people going like, what, the pearl clutching of like, what?
Yeah, they're lying.
It's just dishonest.
I don't believe it, and that's why I'm not upset by it. But they're lying. Like the whole like what he wrote is not a fetish of mine. I don't understand it, but reading the language of it, I know exactly the nature of that relationship because I've had that relationship with women where I've been dominant, and I'm more submissive. I've had women saying such humiliating things about wanting to fuck other guys in front of me, how I wasn't enough, how I would have to, like all of these things that you think wouldn't turn a person on. But what turned me on was that she liked it. And I was like, the fact that she's so dirty and sharing this intimate, private, filthy stuff.
And that's also the thing of like, you can't explain that to people who want to act like, it's like, all right, there's 7 dynamics here and they're all very subtle. And you can lie and say it's all disgusting. And
sure.
But like, you're being dishonest about sexuality in and of itself, which is what I'm curious about. Do you feel like they're almost like just feelings of like, that's how I feel right now, I'll do it, but you don't ride for any of it. You're not like, this is who I am.
It's dopamine. I'm on a sugar rush and I really want cookies, but they don't have it. So I'll have carrot cake. It's like, that's how it kind of goes. And then one time I'll be fixated on carrot cake and I'll go, no, that's not it anymore. Fuck, her feet smell really good. I'll go with that. It's the food and sex are really close as far as addiction and because you can't be abstinent. But I've kind of go through also periods, like if there's something I want to do, I don't cheat on my wife, and anyone would say that, but I mean,
if you use sex workers, would that be cheating?
Oh yeah, anything like that would be cheating. Anything. I understand that also the addiction is a lie. Like me wanting different things is just me being greedy. I was so attracted to Nikki, and the fact that we are married, I'm like, I will never be more attracted to a person than I have been to my wife. So if I'm craving something else, it's because it's addiction. It's pure gluttony. It's like it's a lie. I'm going to go there. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to feel terrible and go, oh, why did I do that? It wasn't what I wanted.
Is there so because we're under the headline of sex addiction, is there a healthy way to be at any point when you were single and sex workers and whatever? I don't know what you were up to exactly, but could it be healthy? Is there a healthy way to want to have sex once a day in a potentially different way?
I think it is if both people are cool with it. Like,
sex workers, you would assume that they're cool with it, right? Or do you have a different opinion?
I've always had good experiences with sex workers, but I fall in love quickly. Like I've always really liked them, and like I find them fascinating and love talking to them and spending time with them. But I couldn't in the marriage. I couldn't go out and do that. Because then I won't come back. Like I know I haven't cheated. Like if I watch porn sometimes, I want to jerk off. I'll look at Twitter. There's a million videos, but I haven't gone into that where I always went, which was to cheat because I can't come back from that.
Yeah.
So I always know that no matter how fucked up I think, I have not done that with my wife. With everyone else, I did it. I've cheated.
But even if you're not cheating, let's say you're single.
Yeah.
You're not committed to anyone emotionally.
Yeah.
Do you think that there's a healthy way to do? Even or to just a different sex worker every night, and even like the fascination part where you're connecting with them, like you could convince me that that's as healthy as anything.
If you're doing it chances are if I'm doing anything every day that I really don't need to do, chances are it's feeding some sort of addiction. So I guess by default it can't be healthy.
Right. I guess okay, let's say your body, you have the kind of body that likes to have 1 orgasm a day, give or take. What if you did it with a sex worker?
Yeah, I mean, as long as you know, like I would always find the same person and see them over and over and over. Mm-hmm. New people, sure, but I always like seeing the same person over and over. But I guess that could be healthy, as long as there's 2 people doing what they want to do. Like with sex work, the thing that's scary is, how do I know? And I never thought of this growing up. I didn't know it. And then as you get older, you go, how do I know she wants to do this? How do I know she's cool with this? And then it starts to really bother you. So you just see people whose story you know. And I know people will go, you never know people's story. Yeah, you do sometimes. If you know someone for 5-6 years, you have a pretty good understanding of their situation in their life. So as time went on, it narrowed down to a very, very smaller group of people who I knew. And it just became easier that way. We knew each other. I was comfortable with them. I knew they were comfortable with me. But a different sex worker every day, I don't think I've ever done that. I've done it in addictive mode. I've done 3 in a day when I was in a manic state. But
and what's the point of that? Meaning, when you say you were having a manic episode and it was just you wanted to.
It's fighting the urge. It's tremendous depression or self-hatred, and you're just trying to keep the high going. It's addiction, and it's like, I remember when Nikki and I broke up at one point. I was actually here in LA, and I saw three, and they were all sex workers I had known for years. But I saw one, and then me and her would fight on the phone. I ran over to someone else's apartment, and I came back, and I did it. It was just anything to keep me from crashing and then just being alone. Like, a lot of it is you just don't want to be alone. You just don't want to come down and say, like, this is my life.
It's the thing about sexual energy. It's all fantasy.
Yeah.
The feeling is not normal. You're literally giving yourself more dopamine. So it is a bit of like a dream state.
Yeah.
So why it's like alcohol or what, any addiction. It's just, you kind of know what you're going to get and it's predictable.
Yeah, and I was bent on, it was real, like, I had zero regard for myself. Like, people know that, like, sexual behavior is selfish, or, hey, you're just thinking to yourself. I'm not even thinking about myself. I don't give a fuck about myself. Like, I'm not protecting myself. I put myself in bad
there's
situations.
Like, the self is not anywhere near it.
Yes, I hate I'm trying to avoid myself.
Yeah.
I'm not doing this because I think I'm terrific.
Yeah, and you're not getting much from, you're not getting, like, status. You're not getting, like, see how sexy I am.
Yeah. It's
paying people.
It is crazy. I mean, but again,
that thing you said about doing things for the right reason, because I've tried to write jokes about it and they're never good enough. But if, like, let's say strippers they're all molested, they're all there for the wrong reason. I don't know many comics that are there for the right reason.
Right.
Tell me the difference.
Yeah, and if you, I always look at it like, when, people you can't say, hey, people should have their own agency if people want to throw those words around. And yet when someone makes decisions they don't like, they're like, oh, they're being victimized.
Yeah.
I don't know the difference sometimes. And I would like to know the difference, because that really fucked with me after a while. I'm like, I can't do this if I don't know the difference, because I just don't want to contribute to somebody else's demise.
Exactly. It's like, go to a strip club. It's like supporting sex trafficking on the one hand, and then on the other hand, it's like, I don't know, we all got to work. That's just the best way they could find to make money, or take the sexual attention part. We're getting perverse attention on perverse attention.
Yeah.
It's not maternal, or it's not from our family, and it's not from our spouse or partner. So is that bad attention?
Yeah, I never know. Like, strip clubs I actually never really liked, but just because it was so, I knew where it was going to go nowhere. Like, even in my delusion, I knew that was, there's too many beautiful women. There's too many guys with money. Like, I don't stand a chance here. If you're David Lee Roth, fine. But I never liked strip clubs for that reason. But I've dated a few strippers, and, they were like no different than anybody else. They were making money. They were making a lot of money. And the women I've known were fine doing it.
Well, that's the thing. But that's what you were saying. Like, critics would say, like, no one's fine doing it.
That's also that's critics, and some critics there are people that don't want to do it.
Sure.
And they're right. But to say that no one's enjoying it or no one wants to do sex work is basically saying that if they make a moral decision that I find objectionable, then it can't be legitimate.
It couldn't possibly.
Yeah.
And how bad did the sex addiction, was there a bottom of the sex addiction, or was there?
When you're using sex like you're using any other drug, when you're using it, and it's not just with other people. Most of my stuff was with pornography and these hours of edging and jerking off and numbing yourself. You're doing it for the wrong reason. The bottom is basically that you're just languishing in this place where there's no connection with people. It's always like, I realize, it's funny, there's an example, like, what sex addiction is this? Dr. Drew had a show. He did all the alcohol shows, but he's talking about sex addiction. And there was a drummer, and I don't remember what band he was from, but he said that he was in this rehab and he for sex. And he goes, the last time I spoke to my mother, I rushed her off the phone so I could masturbate, and she died. And that was the last conversation he ever had with his mother. But he didn't know, but he just wanted to get back to jerking off. And I thought, that's what sex addiction is. That's what it is. It's not always the things you read about or that you hear about on the news, or guys getting busted with prostitutes, or all of these. It's the way that you shortchange people in your life, the moments you lose with people that you never realize, like the hours and the years you waste with people who don't care about you, who you don't care about. the risk you put your partner at. You know, there's weird that to me summed up what addiction is, though. It's like you rush your mother off the phone so you can just get back to jerking off.
Your priority is just getting to that weird state.
Yeah.
Instead of just like a good
having a nice conversation with your mother. And I've never stopped thinking about that weird little moment. And I've gone to meetings for sex addiction, which helped tremendously. I mean, I still have a sponsor. And he always says, go make memories with your wife. Go make memories with Nikki. Like, and I think about that a lot. Like, I love looking back at our old photos and videos. And I'm like, yeah, this is what I'm doing. I'm making memories with my wife. This is better than anything sexual I'm going to do. But I still fall into the porn sometimes.
Do you have a limit? Like, do you have rules? Do you have rules for yourself?
No, because again, I know I'm looking at different things and then one will hit me. It's like just, you know what I mean? That little search you do on porn, all of a sudden you find the one and you lock in. It's in the atmosphere. It's in the air. It's like a joke. You're searching and you're reaching for it without looking. And then there it is and you have it. And that's the wording. That's how it is with porn. I'm looking through this one and that one and that. I look at a lot of escort websites in England of girls I'm never going to see.
It's so funny. I mean, it's so funny that like, somehow you were like, let's check England.
I do, yeah. And there's some great trans sex workers in England. But I just look and I'm never going to go and do it. It also is kind of safer because I know they're not people I can access. Yeah. I can just look at the pictures and the things they write. And
you're relying on your cheapness to kick in and be like, well, I'm not flying.
Exactly. How many miles do I have on American?
So you were never strictly straight. You never strictly like vaginas. You never strictly like men or dicks or assholes or whatever. Like, so, and then are you surprised that you're married to Nikki?
No, it's perfect. Like she's exactly the person I wanted to be married to. I've never lived with anyone until her. During the pandemic, I raced up to Montreal because she couldn't get in the country from Norway. It was a long 5-year process because she had a minor pot charge. So I put her up in Canada and I would drive up every Thursday, spend the weekend, drive home Sunday morning. And I went up there March of 2020 because I knew the border was going to close. And I stayed until July 1st of 2021. I was in Canada for the entire pandemic, 15 months. From never having lived with someone to just all of a sudden now we're in this small apartment in Montreal with an 8 o'clock curfew. But it worked. I mean, it worked. Like I knew that, okay, I do want to marry her. We were already engaged by that point. And she's the right person for me to marry.
And is the sex part odd?
No, it's
I
great.
guess you just are used to penises.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's what I want. It's who. Look, there's always going to be things that you want in any relationship you're in. Maybe for me, it's more. It's the polar opposite of what I have. But for everyone, you're dating someone with big tits, you want somebody who's flat chested and has a yoga body. Or if you're dating a woman with a big ass, I wouldn't mind like a tiny. Everyone has these things that they look to. And what do you think she doesn't? I mean, my wife's fucking dream guy is probably not a 55-year-old in my shape. You know what I mean? This is not anybody's goal. Yeah. But she wound up here, and I'm happy with it, man. Very happy.
Did you somebody said you shouldn't try to find like the best person objectively. You should find the best person for you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care what the market tells me. This is fucking a big deal.
Yeah. She turns me on and she makes me laugh. I love her brain. Yeah. And I remember we had broken up at the end in 2018, but I remember I was like, I would love to, because I enjoyed talking to her. I liked how she looked at these trans stuff and the way she discussed it. And I'm like, I would love to podcast or do something with her. And this is going back like almost 6 years now.
Yeah.
So we just started doing a channel where we're just kind of showing snippets of our lives with no real goal. Like, because everybody has an idea of what this relationship should look like or what it is. And it's just pretty much like any other relationship. And that's kind of the point of this whole thing it's not this magical thing.
Would you have... this is a weird question. Would you have been friends with her when she was a guy?
I didn't know. She started transitioning when she was 14. Okay. So I can't see her like that. Like, I've seen her baby pictures, and there's people in her family who will still call her him. Like, and they're like, and then he, I don't even know if they're being disrespectful or if it's just such a habit. But I don't know. Like, if she detransitioned now, I wouldn't want to be in that relationship, even though I love her very much.
Yeah.
I just don't know how that would affect me.
Yeah.
But no, I don't know. I can't picture her like that. I can't see it. Like when I see old photos, I can't connect that to the person I'm with. Even though I know it's them.
Can you not understand, but like there's so much fear around trans. There's so much, it's so mysterious kind of, and people are afraid of it. Is part of what you guys, the YouTube thing, trying to make it just more like, it's fucking real regular.
Yes, and a lot of people are afraid of it, but they're more afraid of being penalized for discussing it wrong. They're afraid of saying it wrong.
Yeah.
They're afraid of saying I didn't say cisgender. I'll never say cisgender. It's a made up thing.
Yeah.
So it's the same length as transgender, cisgender, and it's like you're losing people by doing that.
Yeah.
People who are otherwise reasonable.
Are inclined to agree with you, and then they go, well, come talk to us about it. Just so you know, if you say one wrong word, you're a bigot forever. And you go, boy, this is a horrible way to approach any discussion.
It is, and it's not effective, and it's also
the
bullshit.
Least persuasive movement I can think of.
Yeah, because it's built on, look, a lot of trans women have been beaten and killed. Like this such fucking horrible shit it's a really hard life. Like so I understand wanting to be treated with respect and wanting the same rights.
Yep.
But when it comes down to, if you think some trucker in Ohio is going to call himself a cisgender male, all he's going to do is resent you for expecting you to tell him to how identify himself.
Right,
now.
and it's brand new.
It's brand new.
We couldn't do metric.
Yeah.
We couldn't do metric. How the fuck do you think? It's like I have sisters who I still call by their maiden name.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think it makes, we just like what we like and the synapses are what they are. Like, so yeah, the fact that I'm glad you're doing that because of course I literally respect everybody who, but I don't, this thing of like dictating the terms is just like, dude, this is a bad policy.
It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And you know, like you're not going to convince, I mean, I love trans people. But I'm telling you, no, I'm not saying that. I'm not fucking calling myself cisgender. I'm not going down that rabbit hole. I'm not afraid of saying it wrong. I don't care if I say something. Because, and maybe other groups do this as well. I don't think it's just trans people, but it's where here's the ideology. And if you disagree with one point in the handbook, you're an enemy.
Away.
You're not an ally. You're an enemy.
You're immoral. You're a bigot.
You're being
a bad
scolded.
Person. Yes.
That's another part. Where a lot of groups have gone wrong. Stop fucking scolding everybody.
Yeah.
People are sick. It's boring to be scolded. It's not effective. You're not breaking me by scolding me. I'm not going to cower and go, you're right, I'm sorry. And a lot of people aren't. And the pushback against it, I thought the Bud Light pushback was silly. To care who's on a beer can is silly. It was fake. I don't care who's on a beverage that I enjoy.
Right.
You know, I'm happy for Shane that he got it. Good for Shane.
Good for Shane.
But the idea of people getting mad, even if you say, hey, I don't like Dylan Mulvaney because
they recast it with Shane.
And Shane is probably a better guy to do it. He's more like Bud Light's brand.
They never should have not had Shane.
But the fact that people got so mad saying they're force feeding us ideology, it's like, no, they're also just advertising to a new group of people. Like if people's self-worth, if people's self-image is wrapped around the beverage they drink, then you're an empty, nothing motherfucker of a person.
Yes.
I'd love Diet Coke. I honest to God don't give a fuck who's associated with Diet Coke.
Bill Clinton.
Good for Bill Clinton. God bless. I wouldn't care. Epstein. It doesn't matter to me who drinks Diet Coke and whose picture is on the can. I have zero attachment to it. The Diet Coke's job is to do one thing: make the beverage I like. Yeah. And if they don't,
Fahim Anwar has a joke about Budweiser. It's like
Bud Light got greedy. They sacrificed their core demo to make 0.0001% more money. They were in a board meeting, like, okay. How do we make more money? How do we sell more Bud Light? Okay, women don't drink Bud Light, but trans women used to be dudes, so maybe we can get them to drink Bud Light. That's an untapped demo.
How much of a market do you need?
Right.
It's just greed. It's just greed blowing up in their face.
Yeah. I mean, but I don't mind them reaching out to.
No, I don't either. Yeah. But it's like, I don't know, you have to get every single market.
How many people do you need to drink your product?
Yeah. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. No surprise there. Hey, Chief, what's the first thing you do in your day if you had an extra hour? A lot of us spend our lives wishing we had more time. The question is, time for what? It's actually an old bit of a famous comedian who I won't mention in this. The best way to squeeze this special thing into your schedule is to know what's important to you and make it a priority. Therapy can help you find out what matters to you so you can do more of it. Again, I won't stop talking about therapy. I'm always talking about therapy. It's a cornerstone of my life. My girlfriend is a therapist. It'll teach you skills on how to live. It's not like optimizing and rising and grinding. It's just like, how do you deal with your emotions? How do you set boundaries? How do you communicate with people? Which one of your emotions should you pay attention to? You don't have to have like a major trauma. It can just be like a better upkeep. It's just a little like pit stop, get your tires rotated emotionally. It's hard to find a therapist. So if you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. Find your social sweet spot with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/NEAL today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp. BetterHelp.com/NEAL. I talk about therapy all the time. Most of my guests talk about therapy. Just, again, I'm not going to say bite the bullet. Just just do it. Just quit procrastinating and do it. It will help you, I promise. It'll help you. Look at me. Woo, therapy. All right, so you have compulsion on here.
Yes. I mean, but again, that kind of goes, the compulsion.
What is that? What's the difference? Is compulsion a non-sexual behavior?
Sure, it can be sexual. It can my new obsession is I'm having a midlife crisis where I said I want to get the Kiss did this. I was a Kiss fan my whole life. And I said I wanted to get the Chopper poster. They did 4 motorcycle posters that I loved when I was a kid. I said I want to get them in mint condition, and it sent me on a fucking road. Now I've been obsessively buying old Kiss posters, the Japanese versions, mint condition, factory sealed. It's fucking, my wife hates it. She hates Kiss. She hates seeing it in the house. But it has become, it's
Do you like, hang them?
I frame them in museum glass. Like I'm a fucking idiot. I'll find like a Japanese rice paper poster, and I have it framed in museum glass. I mean, it's become an obsession, and the compulsion is I just can't stop. It's hoarding. It's controlled and respectable hoarding because it's not dirty and it's not.
Okay, so would it be safe to say that your experience as a human being has felt wild and that you didn't know what was happening from moment to moment, and now you do things like this to like slow it down and collect and obsess and narrow your focus? Is a wide focus too big?
It's one of those things where I've always fixated on little things. Now it's this. At one point it would have been Ozzy or Sabbath or pictures with people, or this is the thing I've fixated on. And I keep breaking out of it, like temporarily going away from it. Because I had to buy giant portfolios to put these things in.
You used to take pictures with celebrities? Is that
for years, yeah. But I actually, after a while, I started getting jokes out of it. And I'm like, I'll do it, and whatever happens, happens. And I got like a lot of actually really good bits out of it.
Yeah.
So I was like, there was always something to it. But now if I interview somebody, I will. But I don't really give a fuck anymore. It just became a thing, like a collectible thing that I was doing. But yeah, the Kiss poster obsession is my newest fixation. But the compulsion, I can't stop once I start something. And that goes into any type of addiction. It's just, it's greed. It's fucking greedy. It's gluttony. It's like all the...
So you think it's greed?
Big part of it.
That's underneath it? You think that's what it is?
Yeah, gluttony, greed. I mean, it's grabbing. I heard a guy in a meeting describe it for us, grabbing for more than my share of everything. It was a 12-step meeting for alcohol, and he was talking about I grabbed for more than my share always. My share of pleasure, my share of alcohol, my share of sex. I'm always grabbing for more than I deserve.
That's interesting because that feels, obviously alcoholics have a reputation for being selfish.
Sure.
Which legitimately, but I almost feel like it's I would think they're selfish because they're robbing everyone else of a good relationship.
Sure.
Or a good connection. But the selfish part is interesting. I'll add it to my arsenal of things I don't like about alcoholics.
Yeah.
but
they're very we're frustrating people. Obviously. It's because again, there's unpredictability, which no one likes.
Well,
volatile.
but that's the part is the thing that makes me sympathetic to alcoholics is like they have a feeling they're trying to get rid of it, so they're dulling it, right?
Yeah.
But if the feeling, but this almost feels like like very aggressively hostile. Like, I want everything. I don't want you to have anything.
Yeah, or it's just that the bottom line is the hole you're trying to fill, you don't realize has a hole in the cup you're trying to fill has a hole in the bottom. So you're always throwing stuff into it, and the worst crime of it is not that there's a hole in the bottom which makes it unfillable. It's the fact that the hole is small, so you think you're going to fill it. Like, it's just, you don't ever look at it and go, I'm empty and I need to do 10,000 things. It's always like the fucking one more, that one more high, that one more fucking jerk, like the one more, if she sits on my face and I smell her ass and it's this, then I'm done. You keep looking at like the rim of the cup as if it's almost full, but then it goes down a little. And then you have to keep going, and then it goes down.
And you can't accept that it's not. You can't accept it 3/4 full.
No, that's where that greed comes from too. But that's the part they always talk about, like the hole that you're trying to fill. But I realize that the hole it gives you the illusion that you can fill it by always hovering below the surface, and that's what drives you crazy. Because it's like a lot of times it's that one poster. I just got to get one. There's a Japanese poster by a company called
and
Victor.
then we'll shut it down.
I'll have it. But I've gone through that already with another poster, and I got it. And then all of a sudden, the obsession started again. Well, just this one. Like, I don't look at 500 posters. I got to get 500 posters.
It's fucking fascinating because I've never heard anyone describe it like that.
Yeah, but that to me is the curse of it. Is the because long ago, you learn that early in recovery is that they call it a God hole. You can call it whatever you want to call it. We're filling it, and there's a hole in the bottom, so you can never fill it. But it's it's that itch of it always being close to being there. And then like you're looking for that moment, like I'm done. I've done it. I can put it on the shelf and it's a completed work.
So is part of it just accepting that it's unfillable and that's a futile, any effort to fill it is futile. Don't start.
I guess so, but it's easier said than done because I know it. And again, I heard a speaker say one time, knowledge is no defense against the first drink. And I always remember that was 1989. He said that, this guy Ted in a fucking convention in New Jersey. Knowledge is no defense. Like, knowing it helps you not do it, but I have to not do it. Like, just knowing that I'm compulsive isn't enough. I have to stop doing it. Well, there's
so many things that are like that, which is, I was just in Vegas and it's like, people can't resist it.
Mm-hmm.
They know that this whole place is built on people thinking they could win and losing.
Yep.
And they cannot resist it. And to even open it up, like I won't do gambling ads on here because it's like, this is not good.
Yeah.
It's not, people can't resist it. And then people go, well, and they drink responsibly and some people can, but a lot of people can't.
Yeah.
Do we need to build the world for the people that can't? I don't know, but I think some things are so insidious that you kind of have to make allowances for those people.
You do.
It's kind of cruel not to. And I don't know. I'm of two minds. Like, it's cruel or, it's life's cruel.
Adults have to make adult choices. Like, and again, I'm a person who makes a lot of poor choices. I have historically, but it's always been on me. Always. I mean, I understand cigarette ads targeting kids is one thing, but I don't gamble because I went to Vegas one time and I put $1 on like one of those stupid wheels, like tuk, 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 and it landed on $1. So I won, it landed on 20, and I won $20. And my first thought was I should have fucking put down 20. I would have won 400. The first thing I thought, and I realized that's what this is.
Yeah,
that's how it happens. It's never enough. And when you lose, you have to get even. The cup is almost full. Let me just get this money back and I'll be done. It's a completed work.
What's the saying? One's too many and two's
not enough. The different number. The one I heard was this guy, Wayne, who my sponsor used to
like
pick
how
me.
You remember everyone's name.
I remember weird things. But this guy, Wayne, he was a weird guy, would smoke. He was very mentally ill. I didn't know it at the time. I was 18. But he's the first guy I heard say that. He goes, one's too many and 1,000's not enough. And I'm like, yep. That makes perfect sense.
And that's the cup thing, right?
Yeah.
Basically, like,
avoid the first one.
And so you know that you cannot fill up and it's just an unease. You're trying to get like this fucking poster, this is going to solve it.
The way that it gets filled up, or it actually does work, is like if you're whatever your version of sober is for a person, if it's gambling, if it's sex, if it's drugs, whatever it is. if you're doing something and trying to live a more spiritual life, and by spiritual, again, just being good to other people, being faithful to your wife, being helpful, like it really does take that buzz away. Like, you know, I don't have the mania of addictive thinking when I'm having a good time with my wife and we're having sex. I'm not always thinking like, I gotta do this. But when I start feeding into that, like that's when I'm in trouble. And then I don't want to be with her. I want to just look at porn and jerk off because I want to isolate. I miss that once in a while. I miss the addiction. Like of course I miss seeing people. I haven't in years. It's been years since I've seen anybody outside of my fucking.
But weirdly, that is connection.
With her, you mean, or with them?
No, with them.
Oh yeah.
If you're saying you miss them,
sure. Oh yeah. I'll always have that. But some of them.
But the weird thing is, so it's like sex is keeping you from connection, and that's a connection. Weirdly,
but that's not a healthy connection, or that's not a connection that lasts.
Right.
That's a connection based on a transaction. I give them money, and they have sex with me, or they talk dirty to me, or whatever they do. It's not based on a connection of two people who go, I want to be connected to you, and I want you to be connected to me, and I want us to stay that way. Like, there's been so many people I've seen over the years who I wanted to date. Like, I loved them. I thought they were amazing. I never judged anybody for doing that.
Yeah.
I couldn't be with someone who was actively doing it because I get too jealous.
Yeah.
But I loved them. I mean, there's one woman I'm thinking of right now who I'm still friendly with, but I would have married her at one point. Years ago. I've known her for 10 years. I would have married her at one point. If she had just stopped doing that and liked me like that, I would have married her, loved her.
Did you ever talk to her about it?
No, but I could tell. I would walk with her. I would always try to hang out and chat after. And I knew she was just about leaving. And
so funny, you're like the fan after the show. Like,
I am the worst. Yeah. Where do you get your ideas from?
What are you up to? You want to get we're gonna get a drink if you want to come.
Yeah, exactly. I exactly like that. Like, hey, if you want to just hang out and talk, you can smoke in my fucking, in my place if you want.
Hoarding, I feel like we covered.
Yes.
Negative confirmation bias. Obviously, a very human problem. Why is it on here?
It's
as like something because that's a hard thing to know.
Yeah, I know it because I remember I was the confirmation would be I'm garbage. Like I'm truly worthless. Like not in a way that I think makes me interesting on stage, or not in a way that I think is pseudo introspective, but in a real way. It's like I feel like you're of zero value. And I remember, like, an example of that is when I was doing Mouthful of Shame. I had, luckily, I'd met De Niro through odd channels and gotten to know him a little bit, and he had shot the opening of my special for me. Like, I had always dreamt of doing that, and he did it. And I remember tickets weren't selling in the first venue that I was going to shoot the special at and then show this. And I remember thinking, I really want to jump off the balcony. Him being in it was great, but all of a sudden that got washed away. And it was, you're not selling tickets because you're worthless, and just jump off the balcony. And I remember the obsession with jumping off my balcony. I didn't do it, of course, but I remember talking to my manager, and I was just spiraling. I was coming unraveled at how absolutely worthless I was. And these things happen throughout my career. Like, whenever something doesn't go the way I want, it's because I suck. Not I wasn't right for the job, or I had a bad set,
right,
because I'm fucking garbage. And it just confirms what I already knew. And so much of my unhealthy thinking comes from that. Like, from being a fucking, like, I put weight on, so I'm a fat pig and I can't have pictures taken. Like, it's always this horrible negative place, and anything that doesn't go right confirms that. And so it's almost like you're always standing on the edge of a funnel ready to slide into it. Like, the first negative thing just kind of pushes you into the funnel. And then, like, yeah, see, I knew it. I'm fucking shit. And I always think of self-harm, or I don't think of hurting other people, but I always think of fucking just put a hose in the exhaust pipe, you worthless piece of shit.
Yeah, that's I've used this in arguments, or like where people say, like, you're so sensitive. And I've used it to my advantage with especially with girls, where if they're like, everything's so, and I'm like, because I'm running such a small margin in terms of self-esteem.
Yeah.
Which is, people should be able to criticize you within a relationship. But it really is kind of like that, where it is such a small difference between feeling fine and feeling like pure garbage. Could be a look, somebody says something, just anything, and I'm sure you play the game of, why aren't you tougher?
To myself?
Yeah.
Yes. And part of the answer is I have very narrow margin, like a very, very, self-esteem is very tentative.
Yeah.
So I can't have anything fuck up that ecosystem. But there's also, And again, it's one. I always say where I got this from, so I don't sound like I'm trying to be smart. It's always like one of the 12 steps.
Tell me the guy's name.
What's that?
Tell me the guy's specific
I wish
name,
it was
where the
Wayne, but he's
location
dead. No, I don't remember this one, but it was some of the 12 steps. And it said that we get a misshapen pleasure out of pain. And that's the thing. I get a misshapen pleasure out of feeling bad, out of feeling hurt, out of feeling wounded. Like I like it. So there's the part of me also that has purposefully or subconsciously done it so I can get that shit feeling. There's whether it's something your brain releases, whether it's that chemical feeling you get in your chest, but there is
like a losing poker hand.
Yeah, that
if you're an addict,
it's a physical feeling that I get when I'm wounded or I'm hurt. And I used to I remember one woman I dated, I would lay in bed with her and I was asking her, I wanted her to tell me that she enjoyed fucking her ex more than me. And she was like, what? And I'm like, no, but I know. And I would just kind of guide and manipulate the conversation into figuring out if he had a bigger dick and if she liked it. So she would say one thing that indicated she was okay with it. And I got what I wanted. That was like the bullet she gave me. I could now hurt myself.
Yeah.
So I was depressed and it really hurt the relationship.
Yeah.
Because I was seeking out to be hurt. So a lot of times it's not just my self-esteem is fragile. It's also that I'm sick and I like feeling pain. So because I like the healing that comes from it.
Oh, okay. So do you like the pain at all, or you just like the?
I mean, but the whole, it's the whole thing. It's like the whole ritual of it.
You like it all.
Yeah. It's a whole thing. It was like it's like when you're going to cop, like guys who are going to cop drugs. It's the going to get it.
Right.
It's it's fucking cooking it. It's everything
it's
about it.
It's cutting. It's self-harm. It's like a form of like, you cut me, but conversationally, and it's I've had that problem in my life, and I think I've gotten through it.
Yeah.
Where I don't need to do it as much. Like I used to get very jealous of girlfriends.
Yeah.
And now I just don't care. I don't even I'm not even curious about exes. I'm just like, I don't know. Was it great?
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad you had a good life experience. It's like Stanhope's bit about being in love and being married is the best feeling a human being can have. And when you meet your spouse, you're basically saying you can never have that feeling again.
Yeah.
Like you're denying, but I don't, but that I have some generosity around like, did you have pleasure? Great. Did it, as long as the relationship's over, I really don't. It doesn't affect me at all. But I have done that sort of form of cutting thing.
Yeah, that form of feeling of using I know how I can use you to fucking beat myself over the head. It's a really weird thing to do. But now with my wife, I mean, I know about her ex, and at one point I was jealous, but now I don't give a fuck at all. I really don't.
Yeah, he was like, that's just a vague, I don't even know. And also, have you found, I had a thing a couple nights ago where I was, somebody was extremely rude to me and unnecessarily whatever. And I was enjoying the righteousness to the point where I told the guy, he's like, I've apologized several times. And I was like, oh, I know I'm overdoing it.
Yeah.
I can't help it. I'm sorry. I'm going to stop. But I really want to keep. So I used to say to an ex, this is a 2 apology infraction. Yeah. You can apologize. I'm going to need another one 3 days.
Yeah.
But and I said to my girlfriend, I was like, I think righteousness is my whiskey.
Right.
It just is. I enjoy the sort of, and whether it's righteousness or victimization, it is fucking potent.
Yeah. Sometimes, again, not wanting the high to end. Sometimes when somebody is like, hey, I'm sorry about that. Oh, it's over.
So the negative confirmation bias, my experience is that if you go to cave times or living on the savannah, we're built to scan for threats.
Yep.
So now that everything is pretty much settled, we're just looking for threat. Our body likes doing shit it's done before. It's just let's go to that restaurant. It just likes the same 5 things. So it's you want to do some righteousness?
Yeah.
Real quick. And even the other night, the guy that was I didn't ask for that, but that thing of asking your girlfriend, would you say things that are which sounds also sexual in a different.
It can be at times too. That it can be. I've used cuckolding because I used to be so painfully, agonizingly jealous that I finally went, oh wow, I can jerk off to this, and I turned it into a fucking high. And I turned it into
like
a fetish.
Turning like realizing like, we could make these cowhides into jackets.
Yeah. I took a negative and I made it into quite a positive. And I would enjoy talking about that, but no,
You're
like
thrifty.
Yeah, anyone who could who could cuck talk me, because that can go anywhere. That can go on for hours. I found an old chat I had with one of my exes years ago. It was on my computer for some reason. And it was a long one where she was just doing all that cuck talk. And I remember I used to feel high talking to her. I would literally feel stoned. I would be so turned on.
You are. That's all of sex is. It's a netherworld. It's like you don't inhale something, but once you're engaged, if it's texting or pics or even flirting at a bar, it's like we're in this current.
Yeah.
And it's way better than reality.
It sure is. Yeah, this little place we're in is a lot better than what's gonna be there when we're finished.
Yeah, and you call it like romance or whatever, but it's like, no, it's intoxication.
Yeah, it feels good.
Agreed.
Greed kind of goes in, I guess, with what we talked about too. It's kind of the theme for all of it, I think, for me. Greed, and also I greed and gluttony I kind of put as the same thing. You know what I mean? Just never enough.
Do you have any deprivation inversion?
What's that mean?
Meaning, being Catholic or growing up Catholic and Irish, I think Irish have like a strain of it also, which is like, no, I like fasting.
Oh, do I get like anything out of
like I get a perverse superiority from fasting? Like, no, I'm very disciplined, and how long do you need me to fast for? Yeah, 2 days, fine. It's nothing to me.
Yeah, no. Have I got no? Usually the results of that, like if I'm doing well and I lose weight and I look better, the results of that, I'll be glad I did it. But no, I don't necessarily have that where I feel like.
So I have greed, obviously, and I'm gluttony, but and then the inverse,
which is like depriving.
Yeah.
No, I rather withhold from somebody else. Like if I'm hurt or I'm angry, I withhold love, or I withhold conversation, or I withhold interaction. So you know what I mean? There's a punishing element.
I have that as well.
Yeah. But myself, I punish through other ways. But the way you're describing, I have not done it, but I've done it through, many other ways.
Well, it's also funny where it's like I do enjoy the silent treatment. I'll declare people dead, the whole gamut. But there is something about my girlfriend, who's a healthy person, will be like, maybe we shouldn't talk for a little bit. Whatever, 12 hours.
Yeah.
And it's not a threat. It's not manipulative. It's just like feelings are so overwhelming that they become pure reality. Yes. Even the thing the other day where the guy's like shitty and I'm mad for a full 36 hours, like around the same amount of righteous and pissed or whatever. And then I wake up today and it's just gone.
Yeah.
And it's like, I was willing to build a cathedral of that feeling.
Yeah.
And now it's just fucking evaporated.
It just went away.
So there is something to be said for like, let's just not talk.
Sometimes it's like, I'll say, I'm actually usually terrible at that, but with my wife, I'm better at it. We'll be in like, we're going through this thing and she's crying about something that really is not cry worthy. It's, it's just emotion. Our emotions are all over the place, fucking hormones and estrogen, all that shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, can we just stop? Like normally I would take that and amp it up to 100 because I love to scream.
I mean, in your case, you could just hide the estrogen.
I don't know. I don't know which fucking bottle it's in. I don't know where I'd put it. And believe me, the alternative is no, I'll take her crying.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, I'll take the crying to what happens if she doesn't take the estrogen.
Yeah. And it's like, you're just kind of like,
let's just stop. I can't do it. Just stop talking. I'll shut up. You shut up. Let's just talk later.
Does she accept that? Or does that read as thoughtless?
Sometimes
on your part.
Both. Like there's times where she'll accept it, and there's times where I'm like, she's on a roll. She's on a fucking roll, and she's not going to stop until she's done. Like today in the car on the way, we went to the Gentle Barn today because I like the animals are just nice, and we went and pet the animals, and we're driving back, and she's on a roll. The hell, I need to get a new headshot. And she wants me to do stuff in Norway, and I'm like, yeah, all right. No, I don't know yet. I don't feel like getting a new headshot till I lose weight. And she wouldn't stop. She wouldn't stop. And I'm like, all right, you're just on a fucking roll of yapping at me for some reason. But I know I wasn't mad about it. I'm like, yeah, keep talking. I'm not involved in this. This is you. I'm not going to get the new picture. I've heard you. You've been heard. And it's a no. I'm not doing it.
Yep.
So when I want to get new pictures, I'll get new pictures.
Yeah, it's like if you have to explain, like, no, I have my sense of reality and priorities, and my priority is yours is a headshot. Mine's not headshot.
No, I don't want to. I'm a fat pig, and I know what I look like. Telling somebody you've been heard, like, I've heard you. I don't agree with it. That's all it is. There's nowhere to go from here. We don't agree on something.
Yeah. Do you try to does she, or do you back and forth? Do you try to convince each other shit?
You know,
because the adrenaline will kick in when someone says, "I hear you and I don't agree." My first instinct is like, it's like I just got punched in the face, and I'm like, oh well, now I have to win this.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes, but I also think like Nikki's very literal. It's just, Norwegians are like that. They're kind of to the point and literal, like, Daniel Simonson, if you ever watched him, like she's a very literal person. So I know sometimes that the way she debates, we miss each other. Like I know our brains are very different, and English is also her second language, because even though she speaks it perfectly, I forget sometimes that every nuance of English is not the way she was raised speaking. So there's certain things I say that might pass her, or that she might not understand my meaning or my intent. So a lot of times I understand we're just not going to agree. But I'll tell somebody, look, I just don't agree with you, because I find that when I get angriest is when I feel like I'm not being heard.
Yeah.
And I think that's when people get maddest. Yeah. People get mad when they're trying to convince. And if you say to somebody like, I got it, I've heard you, but I don't agree. I don't see it that way.
Yeah.
And you're not going to convince me, and I'm not going to convince you. Like, it's almost like you can keep arguing if you want, but I'm letting you know you're not going to move me.
Yeah. It's not, I don't think you're stupid. I hear you're saying, I hear your reasons. They're not convincing me.
That's why I don't really argue politics with people. I'll mention it briefly, but I'm bored by people's indignation. It's not like, oh, that guy's committed. It's
childish.
It's childish. And it's selfish, and it's just babyish, and I'm not interested. Like, there's nothing someone's going to say. I'll hear someone out briefly, but as soon as they start, I'm like, you lost me.
Yeah, it's like, so you don't understand that someone could value security over human warmth?
Yeah.
You can't imagine it, and vice versa?
Yeah.
And it's like, no, they just have a different set of priorities.
Yeah.
The greed thing, are you like materialistic? You don't
not really. No, I make a decent living, but I've never been like I'm not dishonest with money. I've given money back to clubs if they've overpaid me. Like no, it's not a money thing. I mean, I like to live comfortably, but I'm not a maniac about it. No, just again, greed for attention, greed for somebody's love, like, or their affection, or wanting all of it, or not wanting to share it. And that's why I like,
well, we have coworkers who are so greedy for attention. And what I always find odd about it is like, we're all greedy for attention.
Of course.
Why are you acting like your need supersedes any of ours?
Yeah. Or why are you acting like, what I don't like when some comics do is when they act like their passion is going to sway me. It's like, what do you think? I don't know what this is? I'm the same as you, stupid. Like, I'm not fucking impressed by the fact that you say it like that. I'm not some fucking college kid that picked you up for a fucking gig at the airport, dummy. I know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I've known really funny people. So I'm not, I mean, good for you to do it.
But, I'm thinking similarly, it's like, no, I have to do 19 minutes. I have to run the light because my need is so great. It's like, you're so delusional.
Yeah, just get off.
Yes, it's a collective. We all want to run the light.
You know who doesn't run the light? Colin doesn't run the light.
Of course not.
Attell doesn't run the light. So if Colin and Attell are not running the light,
get off.
Yeah, exactly. Or watching somebody who feels like they have to kill on a Tuesday. It's like, we're not making any real money in these fucking clubs in New York and LA. You're doing it to work on material. Yeah. What are you doing? I'm not an actor in your play, stupid asshole. I'm a real person. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not here as an extra to your day and your vision of yourself.
Were you ever like that? So now that you know that you're greedy like that, do you look back and be like, that was I was being a dickhead?
Oh, 100%. Just not with running the light. I just don't run the light.
Yeah.
Oh, God, yeah. I mean,
but saying things like, did you do any of that?
Oh, sure. Just, we all go through this self-righteous, because, comics are most times fairly intelligent, like and analytical of stuff, and you figure out an angle that you like. But I found myself unhappy when people didn't agree with it. And I'm like, oh, I'm just trying to convince people of something because it makes me feel smarter and more powerful to convince somebody of something. It's bullshit. It was like ego feeding. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've come to the conclusion I'm not going to change anybody's opinion. And like with my wife, we don't try. Like the goal of this is not to get people who hate trans people to like us. I don't care if you hate us. Don't like us. It's the people who do like trans women but are afraid to talk about it. It's like, this is what it is. Just fucking date who you want to date and stop being so secretive about it. Stop taking this whole group of people and pretending you don't like them because you're afraid people are going to call you a homo. That's all it is.
Do you think that that's what the lion's share of transphobia is? Is it like subverted or transmuted or whatever, repressed sexual attraction? Or is it just, what do you think, like percentage-wise? Because to me, it's still just like, that's different. And it terrifies me. I don't like different things.
It's a combination. I really don't know what the percentage. Some of it is people who really want to fucking, they see someone like, oh, fuck you. Like, you know, it's like the old Bobcat bit about like beating up a gay guy because you're attracted to him. I mean, there's, you know, and I know a lot of trans women and a lot of the guys they've slept with who are public figures who they and they shouldn't name them if the guys don't want to be named. Some of it is repressed transphobia, like they want to suck dick, but they don't want to act like they want to suck dick. Some of it is just true religious feelings of this person is an abomination. Some of it is indifference that turns into anger and revulsion because of what special interest groups do. Right. Some of it is, I was kind of like, it's not for me, but, and then all of a sudden you're saying that like, hey, this is the way sports should be and this is the way that should be. And then people push back on that. But then again, I think the conservatives are full of shit too, acting like you shouldn't acknowledge trans people or people like, and if you mention something transgender to a child,
and
you're
they're
trying to
dying to get
them.
into bathrooms.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
I don't know if this was my thought or somebody else's, but like they're worried about a guy becoming a woman to molest your daughter, and it's like, you know, there's lesbians in the women's bathroom.
Yes, I've thought of that with gay men, like too, like the Boy Scouts.
Yeah,
I mean, Jesus Christ, that was a fuck fest for 80 years.
Yeah,
and all of a sudden now it's this. But there are like, look, are there trans people that do it? Sure, but that's not the reason. Especially,
I don't think there are. Honestly,
you'll find some, I think, like that change their gender right before they go to jail, and there have been
like, that's okay. That just sounds like something. But like, thing about becoming a woman so I can be around little kids.
Oh no, I don't think full transitions. I mean, people that probably aren't really trans. But again, like then there are certain times where there's legit things that are dismissed by like, you know, you had like the people looked at, I forget what the state was where the girl said she was assaulted by a boy in a dress sexually in school, and the school board wrote it off like, this dumb hillbilly. But it turns out it was right. Like the school board was covering something up, and this guy who seemed like this fucking, this guy's a MAGA maniac, but he was right. It had happened to his daughter. So a lot of times people will write off any criticism, and it could be valid. It's just a matter of being truthful without saying the outcome has to be this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, Nikki and I are married. We're legally married. I resent anybody that doesn't want us to have the exact same life they have. So anybody that thinks that my wife and I should not be able to behave the way you and your wife should behave, go fuck yourself. Like, that's how we look at it. I don't know what the answer for the kid stuff is. I don't have kids. I have no feelings about it.
Like, well, the as someone who transitioned, she was 14. That's like, that seems to be where a lot of like I think legitimate controversy should, not even controversy, just like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Like, which I don't think it's wrong. I don't think it's a fake argument. It's like, no, this is a real thing.
It's a real point. What's the right thing? And by transition, she just started taking medication. You know what I mean? That's basically it. Like, what's the right age for that? Is 10 too young? Maybe. But again, with no kids, and I don't have any feelings about kids whatsoever, like, whatever they decide, I just don't know what's right.
Yeah, I don't either. Which is another thing. People don't go like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I can see both sides. So
I talk about this on stage. It's the reason I haven't shot a special is I'm still trying to figure out, like, what do I want to say? Like, I talk about our sex, and I like to talk about it because it's jarring to people sometimes and then they realize I'm not kidding. Like, no, this is real.
Well, that's what's interesting, because when I think about your sexual stuff, if I may interject, like that. So do you ever look down at Nikki and be like, I didn't see this coming, but I guess you did.
I did. Oh yeah. What do you mean by the reaction?
Like,
you mean? Or?
No, like I was thinking of your point of view, first person. So you're either behind her.
Oh,
do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Oh no, I'm
like,
never shocked. I mean, like, it's she's who I want to be with. Everything about her is exactly what I want.
Great.
So no, I never. I think she disarms.
Well, it's again, I'm projecting. I'd be surprised.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Most guys
if
are not
I looked
surprised.
down and that was.
And so a dick. Oh yeah, most guys aren't though. They pretend they are. They pretend they don't know. A big part of it is self-identifying too.
Yeah.
Like trans women have to realize, like, yes, you're obviously a huge part of the discussion, but the reason that the men don't come out, many reasons. One is guys are afraid, does it make me gay? And you can't dismiss that. Go, you're totally heterosexual, because there's not a rational thinking person alive that thinks a guy has a dick in his face and he's heterosexual.
Right.
You can tell yourself that. You can identify that way if you want to. It's not my fucking business.
Yeah. But
I find it to be ludicrous and laughable. And I think it causes a lot of confusion with people. And I think a lot of people just walk away from you and think this is crazy. But guys just don't know how to identify if they like somebody transgender. They're like, does it make me gay? Does it not make me gay? I think that's a big part of it. But that said, it's like, you fucking cowards, just admit the group you like. You don't have to say what you do sexually. Everyone has private stuff sexually. Right. But don't just deny it and stop getting caught.
I think it's probably they don't want to have to be the same politically thing. It's like, I don't want to have to pick a team, because there are a lot of things about that particular team that I just am aggravated by or don't want to be a part of.
But it's also,
but you're also right about it's just fear.
They're not publicly dating any. You know, there's a lot of people in public life who like trans women who are not dating them publicly or taking them to dinner or taking them to award shows. And it's like, I'm not the only one who likes trans women. I mean, believe me when I tell you, I'm really not.
No.
So the fact that none of them are doing it shows you that there's more there.
Did you figure out? So how do you talk about it on stage?
I mean, I start with talking about her as a person, the things I hate about her as like anything else in a relationship, being married, just regular shit, banal shit that's true. She's fucking always cold. All this
Other
shit.
people are annoying, and if they're of a different gender, they might be a little more annoying.
Yes. And then I hit them with the fact, I mean, most people now who are coming to see me know already, but the way I get into it, they're like, oh, maybe this is a different person. But then I hit them with it, and it gets a really...
Finally, he's back with regular women.
What? But they're like, what is he doing? Because I've seen some people who know our channel and they know her, and then what the fuck is he doing? And then then the joke comes, it's like a really weird laugh, like, oh, yes, okay, this makes sense. And then I go on and talk about her dick and the sex and the stuff like that, where it's hard, where it's not hard, the arguments everyone's having. And, but I want to get it right. And by right, I mean just funny. I want to make sure it's funny, and I'm not being self-righteous.
And not being like activist. And
no,
like,
I refuse.
I'm trying,
I absolutely refuse.
Our love is just as real, What's so the stuff you've done to get through these things, therapy, 12-step groups.
Yeah.
And you've been going since, as I can tell, 1989 you started?
I mean, 87 is when I started with, I was 18 when I got sober, like from drugs and alcohol. The sex stuff was the first addiction. I mean, that was there since early childhood. But that's something, for years I've been, because again, it's a different type of sobriety. You can't be abstinent. It's like food.
Yeah.
You go on a bender and then you're back. I watch porn for a month and then I stop. But my benders are nowhere near what they used to be. Mm-hmm. Nowhere near. Like, this is still painful sometimes because I'm wasting time, but it's a manageable life compared to what it was. Mm-hmm. But again, that's why I don't fuck around. That's why I don't cheat, because I'm afraid of cracking that door. I'm afraid, because then the next time I say, I fucking blew it. I did it. And then you're off to the races. And then you're
and you've been able to stay sober and drug-free and alcohol.
Oh, yeah. No relapses at all. Like, I'm pretty good once I quit something, except with sex is the hardest. Cigarettes I quit in 2001. Like, once I stop something, I'm usually pretty good at staying stopped from it. But now that pot's everywhere and pot's legal, I don't touch it, but I'm like, I got to be careful of it because it's tempting. I see everybody, people I'm close to smoke pot, and I see it, and I'm like, fuck, that looks fun. So I have to be vigilant about that, because that will lead me back.
Yeah. And what's the goal for yourself in terms of like emotionally?
I'm happy, and I want to stay happy, and I want to, I want to get better and better at also having disagreements that I don't win, that are okay, that just kind of evaporate and they're okay. Like some kind of a peace with my wife, which we actually have a great marriage, but I want to continue doing that and keep getting better at that, because it's always been my fatal flaw, is the fights. And with her, it's not. Like, we have them, sometimes they're bad, but a lot of times I've learned to shut the fuck up. You know what they say, restraint of pen and tongue? Probably the most valuable lesson I've learned being sober. Restraint of pen. Shut the fuck up. Don't tweet it. Just think about it before you say it. And that has saved me from so many disasters.
Yeah, the feeling's gonna leave.
It will pass.
And you're still gonna want people to like you.
Yeah.
After the feelings, right now you want people to like you and you're pissed. And in a day, you're gonna want people to like you, and you will not be pissed, and you'll be happier that you didn't do anything.
Yes, and we had a private relationship for 5 years. I didn't talk about our relationship at all because she was trying to get in the country, and there's nothing worse than, again, I've said it before, but Lenny Bruce on stage with the court papers. Nobody wants to hear that on the radio every morning, like me fucking complaining about Homeland Security and waivers, all this shit. And I was afraid that I would just go down that lane and not be able to stop talking about it and bore people and be angry and say the wrong thing. So I'm like, if I just shut the fuck up, if I don't crack that door, I won't do that. And I didn't do it. And then, after she was in the country for a while and we know we want to be married, I'm like, yeah, this is real. I'm happy.
So you want to be happy, and that she's the best way to do it. And the other stuff, drugs, alcohol, occasional benders and whatever, saying horrid posters, of course, kiss posters.
Yeah.
You'll just you'll allow it in smaller doses.
I mean, yeah, you
kind of can't.
It's going to happen. But considering the volume of acting out I've done, the amount of self-indulgence or of self-destructive behavior, like this is all so minor. It's so minor. And not that I can keep doing it because it will eventually grow again. But I feel like I'm in a decent place right now. There's improvement needed. But my wife's great too. She doesn't give a fuck. Like she doesn't want me cheating, but she's told me like, I would probably forgive you. And I know that, but I still can't do it because it would hurt her. Do I want to get on a plane and go to England? And
more than anything in the world.
Fucking dude, I fantasize sometimes that we get divorced.
You got the miles. And I
got the miles.
Platinum, if not the one above that.
Well, I have an Amex, so whatever airline I could use Amex points for, I would fly for free and then take whatever money I would have wasted on airfare and put it into a bunch of Brazilian girls who I'm dying to see. But I can't do it. It would feel good for a while, but I've actually, even in my stupid fantasies, because she and I recommend this for anybody who's trying not to cheat, location tracking on your phone. We share location. Because my fantasies can't go beyond the starting gate. Like I'll fantasize about, I want to go see this person. I want to fucking... And my mind will start taking me. Then the next thing you know, I'm
That's interesting that you do it. You do the location tracking. It's like a digital leash because you don't trust yourself.
Yes, and once in a while, if I'm like, I don't think she cheats. So like, I'm really confident she's being faithful. But if I'm like, where is she now? It just helps to look. Oh, she's on her way home. But for me, I don't trust where. Like, I want to go uptown or I want to go here. But I'm like, you know what? If I'm on the road and Nikki's not with me, she might see that I'm in this other hotel. Like it cuts off the fantasy before it can really get going. At least that part of it. Like, because I'm very literal when I fantasize. Like I like to know how I'll get there. What will I do? What will the sex be like? I walk through every fucking, it's like I just really unpack it in my mind. But if I know like she'll fucking track you, you can't. What are you gonna do? You're telling her you're going somewhere. You can't go to Denver. You can't go to fucking Seattle.
And she then does your fantasy go, I got to turn this. I got to revoke the tracking.
No, because I have to explain it.
Right.
What happened to you? No. The fantasies I've had before where I've actually gone through it, like in my brain, is I just hit the fucking phone on airplane mode where I know it won't matter. But like I'm literally that literal when I fucking jack off. It's really awful. But I just can't do it. And so I recommend that to people who are having a hard time being faithful. Like it's helped me a lot.
Well, yeah, it's not, you're not like limiting your freedom. You're giving yourself a better chance. Like I have blockers on my phone and not for porn, but just for the internet. I don't trust myself.
Yeah. And it's just not worth the trade-off. I've done most things you can do and it never made me feel whole. Like that's the goal. It's like you really are just trying to feel whole and completed, but it's a lie. It's a fucking myth. So like my wife doesn't make me feel whole either. But I'm like, I was so into her sexually for so long, and I still am, but I mean like before when she was still living in Norway, she did webcam stuff and I would talk to her on the phone and I would just jerk off looking at her and talking to privately, not with an audience. And I'm like, if I can think of cheating on her after I'm with her, there's not a person alive that I wouldn't think about cheating on. There's never that magical person.
Yeah, it's not them.
It's not them.
It's like, okay, I'm gonna stop putting this on them. It's the unfillable cup.
Yes, and it's I have to realize it's me. Or maybe the cup is filled and the fucking lie is that the rim is higher. Like maybe the cup is already full and I'm just that's what the lie is.
Well, that's your brain's gonna tell you something.
Yeah, that rim is high, but only a little more.
Yeah.
But if I can think about cheating on her, like I will never be content. Like you know what I mean? Like I kind of know that, and I'm glad I know that. Like, no, you're feeling numb with her right now, but it's because you're married, and it's because you're greedy, and it's because your sick fucking part of your brain wants to go out and do something. I want to go on a tear.
It's also the line between you say you're greedy, and a part of, but I think someone who's new to 12-step or new to therapy would go like, you're being hard on yourself. And you're like, I have to be hard on myself.
Yes.
I'm not going to give myself leeway.
Yeah, and saying greedy is not bad.
Yes, but saying like, hey man, that's a character defect, you should ignite. It's not self-loathing.
No, not at all. Like there's a part like, I mean, normal people.
You're a piece of shit is self-loathing, but like, no, you're greedy is like, no, it's actually
that's accurate.
Clear appraisal.
It's an honest. What do they say? Humility is an honest assessment of my pros and cons in a way. Like that's kind of what being humble is. And I'm not saying I'm humble, but I mean it's honest assessment. It's not everything done in red ink. It's not I'm fantastic and I'm fixed. It's an honest look at what am I good at, what am I bad at. What did I do today that was really selfish? Was I a cunt? Was I, So with if I'm accurate with that stuff, I'm a lot happier. But I fantasized about my wife fucking divorcing me and me going over there. But even in those weird fantasies, I think, what would I do at night? Would I do a set? Would I have dinner? Like, who would I talk to? I'd be lonely. Like, there is a reality.
I picture like kicking down the airplane door, and you just fucking and just storming out.
Yeah, but it's a temptation. I mean, there's some of them. I look at this one site, and I love it. I'm like, God, because a lot of the Brazilian girls can't get into the U.S. It's harder, but they can get into England, and I'm like, oh. God, do I? But then there's a few that I've wanted. You would help me. And The Sopranos. There's a funny line where Jennifer Melfi is talking to Tony, and there's a girl he wants to fuck, and she goes, "You don't have to eat every bowl of rigatoni." And I was like, yeah, that's what it is. You don't have to have every one.
Yeah.
Again, the cup will never be full. There's a million. Like I look sometimes, I'm like, oh my God, there's a lot of girls on OnlyFans and here, and they're all fucking hot. Or I'm on Twitter, and there's so many women I haven't heard of. I'm like, oh, it's that one, that like. It's an unfucking fulfillable pursuit. Yeah. So be happy with
Well, it's fun. It sounds like you've come to the conclusion of like, you just don't listen to yourself all the time.
Yes.
Just like I realized that 6 months ago with negative self-talk where I'm like, I'm just lying all the time to myself in the negativity bias of like, I'm constantly scanning and taking it as negative, and I'm like, you're lying.
Yes.
You're seeing negativity that's not there. And at a certain point people go like, you're your best, you got to be your own best friend. It's like, yeah, and I don't listen to my best friend. Like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, sometimes my best friend,
go talk and I don't give a shit.
Yeah, or know what it is. Like, okay, this is a compulsive feeling. I know I want to go, but you also know that this is a drug urge. It's the same thing. This is like you want to get high. So when you want to get high, you just feel it and let it pass and know what it is, or call somebody, which I'm not usually that healthy, or jerking off is a lot of times a great way to stop it.
Sure.
I mean, it beats, getting my fucking passport out. That would destroy.
Yeah, or Googling Brazilian visas.
I know. I trust me. I've thought of it, but they would have a hard time getting in. There was one girl I used to talk to from another country, and another one I wanted to have come. This is years ago, but she didn't have a passport, and she might have had a criminal record. Her English wasn't as good. She never would have gotten through customs, so I would have had to go to a very dangerous place to see her. So I didn't. So when I found out Nikki was in Norway, I'm like, yeah, I'm happy.
And so you feel like you're happier than you've ever been. You're on top of it more than you've ever been.
I truly am. Yeah, but again, there was a lot of hitting and missing on the way. But I got the person I wanted to be with.
So much of aging, talking to you about this, is like just getting yourself, just like we're like Broncos, and that we cannot ride. Like we can't control our behavior. We can't. And then just slowly you're like, if I sit this way and hold it just so I can have some say in my own behavior.
Yeah.
But it takes so long to figure it out for a lot of us.
Yeah, it does. And that is just a part of aging too. And some guys don't learn it, but then you're like, nah, you know what? I'm good here. Like there's nothing I'm going to get that's going to change this for me. Like I have to change the way I see it. I have to change the way I behave.
Yeah.
I have to not cheat on my fucking wife because I'm never going to get to the point where I cheat and go, oh, that's good. That's done. Now I don't have to cheat anymore. Just don't start doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am truly happier than I've ever been. Like, and it's nice to be happy. There's things in my life like, hey, do I wish my career was different? Sure. And my ex, who's one of my closest friends, and I've introduced her to my wife, so that's who she talks to, and she's mad at me as my ex. I said to her, like, I just wish I was doing this or that. And she goes, look at the fucking things you talk about. Look at what your career and what you made a decision to talk about for 20 years.
Should you host the Tonight Show?
Exactly. I've been talking about fucking Sulka, trans porn star, since fucking 2003. Like, I made a decision.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about this part of myself. I wanted to attack myself, or I wanted to make fun of these things, or I wanted to talk about them. And I've gotten so many messages from people like, I'm so glad you made that okay.
Yeah.
Or which
it is like admirable. I know that wasn't the point, but it was like it's a thing that I think about.
It's one of those things that I felt. It's cathartic. It really is helpful to. Like I had a girl try to blackmail me one time because of our dirty fantasies. And she said it through text. I was like, it's just so crazy that you would say that through text. You're committing a felony. But I told her, like, you obviously don't understand who you're talking to. And I really meant it. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Like, it would embarrass me. Sure. But I would take the embarrassment and then know that I was going to sue you because you tried to blackmail me, and then you could pay for an attorney. I'll be embarrassed. You pay for an attorney. But I was like, let's just talk tomorrow. And she apologized. She's like, I was having a bad day. But I'm like, you're not going to shame me into, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I've been talking about this stuff
You're
for
unshameable. I mean, you're unshameable and you're full of shame.
Yes. I can be ashamed. I would be just as embarrassed as anybody else. Like anybody would be embarrassed, private conversations. Sure. I'm not immune to that. But I'm not like, oh God, people aren't going to know I was this guy who says these dirty things. Like, I've told you for 30 years this is how I think. So yeah, I've done it because it feels good for me to do it. Like, and it's also a way of working through these things, and like making fun of it makes it less painful, and it takes away some of the sting of it when you can humiliate it. Like, you know what I mean? Like that part of your brain when you can just fucking mock it. It really is. But people who have said, hey, I'm so glad you talk about the childhood stuff, and I'm glad you talk, like, that's always very satisfying. Like, that really does feel good. And so I hope that people see us, and just, if this is the trans people who you date, just be open about it. Like, stop. You don't have to tell us what you do in bed. You don't have to tell us if you're top or a bottom. That's your business. That's private. But it's like if you like black women and then just never take a black woman out publicly. People, what the fuck is wrong with you? Or any other group. So why wouldn't you with this group of people? You know, I never quite got that.
Jim Norton, everybody. What an episode.
That was fun. It was good, easy to talk to you.